Today, I am going to introduce you to a truly inspiring woman. Saint Teresa of Ávila, 1515 to 1582, was a Spanish noblewoman, Carmelite nun, mystic, and reformer, whose life and writings remain among the most significant contributions to Christian spirituality. Her story is one of transition from a spirited, sociable young woman to a powerhouse of monastic reform, ultimately becoming a doctor of the Church. The life of Teresa of Ávila, born in Ávila, Spain, into a family with a complex history involving the Inquisition. Teresa was a vivacious and charming child. Following the death of her mother when she was 14, she struggled with the typical distractions of youth, but eventually entered the Carmelite convent of the Incarnation at age 20. For many years, Teresa lived a somewhat mitigated religious life, caught between her commitment to the convent and her love for social interaction and worldly comfort. It was not until she was 39, after experiencing a profound spiritual conversion triggered by the sight of an image of the suffering Christ, that her life as a mystic truly began. Key pillars of her life included the reform of the Carmelites. Alongside St. John of the Cross, she founded the discalced, shoeless Carmelites, advocating for a return to primitive, austere, and poverty-focused monastic roots. Indefatigable spirit. Despite suffering from persistent poor health, she traveled extensively across Spain to establish 17 convents, navigating intense opposition from church authorities, who were often suspicious of her mystical experiences and her gender. Personality. She was known for her quick wit, intelligence, and down-to-earth personality. She famously quipped to God during a particularly difficult journey, "If this is how you treat your friends, Lord, it is no wonder you have so few." Consciousness and the interior castle. While Teresa did not use modern psychological terminology like consciousness, her masterpiece, The Interior Castle, El Castillo Interior, is a sophisticated psychological and spiritual map of the human soul. She describes the human spirit as a castle made of a single diamond or clear crystal, containing many mansions or dwelling places. Her work on consciousness revolves around these central concepts. 1. The architecture of the soul. Teresa maps the internal landscape by moving from the outer walls, where the senses and worldly distractions reside, into the center where God dwells. She distinguishes between active effort, mansions 1 to 3. Here, the individual consciously exerts effort through mental prayer, self-knowledge, and detachment. This is the realm of the active mind working to purge imperfections. Passive grace, mansions 4 to 7. As the soul progresses, the focus shifts. The individual moves from doing to receiving. Consciousness becomes less about the ego's exertion and more about being collected by the divine. She describes recollection, a state where the senses are withdrawn and the faculties, memory, understanding, and will, are gathered inward. 2. The faculty of the will for Teresa. The ultimate movement of consciousness is the alignment of the human will with the divine will. In the higher mansions, she describes the experience of mystical union, where the subject feels a profound shift in their sense of self, often losing the sense of I, to rest in a state of total, tranquil immersion in the presence of God. 3. Experiential knowledge. Teresa was adamant that spiritual progress was not merely intellectual. She famously remarked that she would not write about anything she had not personally experienced or observed in others. Her psychology was empirical, based on her own trance states, raptures, and visions. She provided a framework for distinguishing between true spiritual growth and mere emotional delusion, emphasizing that a sign of authentic consciousness is always a growth in humility and love for others. Teresa's influence is unique because she has built a bridge between high-level mysticism and practical daily living. She insisted that the interior castle was not just for secluded saints, but a reality accessible to anyone willing to cultivate a life of honest, humble prayer.